Welcome back to the coverage of YCS Düsseldorf 2019. We started yesterday morning with 2,838 duelists spread over 2 events, but now we're down to the last 64. After 9 grueling rounds of Swiss yesterday, 3 more rounds early this morning until now, we now cut the field down to just 64 duelists. This is something we're more used to. We're not so used to 2,800 players. And we got the top 64 feature match between 2 players that are actually in their first YCS top cut ever. Let's bring them in. In the red corner, it's Raphael Neven from the Netherlands. I'm just kidding. You guys know this guy. He's a 2-time YCS champion, one of Netherlands' finest players. Raphael, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. Yeah, I feel a bit sick, but I'm really happy I topped and relieved.
You're really getting used to this. So what is your secret? How can you be so consistent?
It's a combination of playing a lot, travel to every event, get as much experience as possible. Also try to stay calm. I used to be like a hothead and very, very tilting when I lost, and I'm working on that, and it's getting much better every time.
All right, speaking of nervousness, you're now in the feature match area. You have been here before. I don't know if you ever get used to it. I mean, some people say they do, but it's on the stage with the bright lights in front of you. How are you feeling about playing in the feature match?
It's always a bit like, you know, you have to try to get that idea in the back of your head, like get it out of there that everyone is watching, because it should be relevant for you. You should still play like it's a normal match, but of course it always feels
it's very hard to take it. Yeah. All right. I guess you're happy with your deck choice for the event?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I wanted to play Lunar Knight, but I didn't have the balls to do it again.
All right. But this deck got you here, so please take a seat and good luck to you. His opponent is an actual first time in the top card. We got Ludvig Hallstrom from Sweden. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Doing fine. We don't have that many players from Sweden making it to the top cut, although I heard you have a very fine community there. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's very good, very small, but I would say everyone is slightly above average at least.
And do you all like bind together? You're traveling to these events together, prepare for them together?
Yeah, we play test together, we travel together. There's one more Sweden top cut I play tested with the event for,
okay. So you guys are becoming a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
All right. So how happy are you with your preparation, with your deck choice for this event?
It was good. Maybe it could be improved in hindsight, but yeah, it's all right.
It's all right. It got you here. Okay. You're now playing against Raphael. He has been playing in the finals before. He even managed to win finals twice, one time on this continent, one time on the other. What do you think your chances are like going up against Raphael?
Should be all right. I played him round 7 yesterday, so yeah. Hopefully you do better now.
How did you do in round 7 yesterday?
Oh, I lost, but...
okay, okay. So basically you guys know what each other is playing?
Yeah.
Unless you had like an aneurysm or something. All right, please sit down as well. I think both of you guys are ready for this match. We need a die. You get to choose. High roll with 2 dice. Raphael's got that's a 9. Not bad. That's a 8. Okay, do you want to go first?
I start. Yeah, I start.
Okay, Raphael Neven wants to go first. With that, the stage has been set. Our players are ready. They actually know what each other is playing. So let's take you guys to our feature match commentary. That's Daniel Neven and Marcello Barberi.
And we're here. Top cut.
Yes.
Single elimination rounds. It's win or you're out.
Exactly. Now it's the part where it gets interesting. It's the most important part of the tournament. We get serious now, and we thought we were gonna show you probably the hottest player at the moment. Raphael Neven is on a blast. He won YCS Chicago, and he's doing really well consistently at events. And
I mean, if you just look at the points leaderboard,
exactly,
he's one of the top players in Europe, and
yeah.
Legitimately, is this going to be a back-to-back YCS cross continents?
I mean, it could be. It could be. He's definitely one of the players that would be able to do it. And when he said he was relieved, it's of course because of the grind for war points.
Exactly.
It's gonna be a big deal because as in YCS Utrecht, when you have a top 64, it means there's more points. And his main goal was to top, because I can talk by experience. After you've won a YCS, sure, it's always a good feeling. You always try to win even more, but your goal is to go to the World Championship. And
Exactly.
Raphael still is missing that goal, so that's on top of his mind. He wants to go there, and to do so, he wants to top. He did.
Yep.
So from now on, it gets easier for him. So we have a pretty interesting matchup right now. Raphael, just like we were talking about before, when you try and go for points, you just want to top. Sure, you want to win, as everyone else, but your main goal is to have a consistent deck, and he thought the most consistent deck was the newest.
Exactly.
So,
Lunar Light was the deck at Chicago
Yeah.
to win the event.
except because why? In the US, you can't get any more points for words.
Exactly.
So you can see the difference in Raphael mentality, which is obviously a pro player, we can say by now. He went to an event over Chicago. He can't get points, so he risked it a little bit. He plays something out of the comfort zone, and he did win. Now he's here. He wants to top. He doesn't care about winning as much. He just wants to get the points, and he plays a consistent deck. And luckily for him, or well, more than lucky, probably deserved it, he's in the top card. And he's playing against Ludvig, which on the other hand, is playing one of the decks we expected, and it's Sekka's Light Thunder Dragon.
Yes.
So
And this is something we've mentioned before. And this is probably the build that if I were playing Thunder Dragon for this event, this is what I would be looking at.
it's exactly. This gained popularity as well in YCS Chicago, and with Aaron Foreman, for example, but many other players using it. And it's quite a scary deck, because he can do through a lot of combos using the Guard Dragon's links we have seen.
Exactly.
And he can handle multiple negation, multiple cards away from your opponent hand.
Yeah.
And even more in this build, because the spice for Ludwig is the Now Space engine. He's playing the connectors along with the Dolphin, and that can definitely come in handy. Anyway, with no further ado, let's just go to the table.
Exactly.
So let's see the hands.
So we see impermanence in Raphael's hand, which can be quite relevant here. He is going first, so he'll have
Definitely.
it. Realistically, it's not going to end up negating spells or traps in this matchup, but every bit of extra interaction and extra back row is a great boon
Sure.
for him here.
It's definitely, I mean, the really cool thing, I think it is the first time this weekend that we have seen actually Flame Buffalo in his hand.
Yes.
All the
100%.
other builds were using Lady Debug, which is fair enough.
He's playing both Debug and Buffalo, so he has
Exactly.
5 of these cards in his deck.
And yeah, Flame Buffalo is such a cool card. As you said, you can draw into your non-Salamangreat cards.
Exactly.
And it's basically a safer version of Pot of Desires.
Yep.
And the reason why Raphael is using it instead of Pot of Desires is because of Sanctum. He's playing Sanctum. He told me that it is one of the best cards of the format, in his opinion. And you don't want to risk banishing the site, and there is the Sanctum. So, quite a
Looks
big deal.
like he might have drawn Sight as well.
Did he?
He drew a monster alongside the Sanctum, but it might just be the Gazelle.
That would be unfortunate. but-
Sanctum is very scary in the format. I think once you see Sanctum, if you're on an extra deck like this Thunder Dragon deck, you kind of have to hold any interaction such as Ash Blossoms for that Sanctum.
For sure. It's one of the scariest cards in the format. Raphael is right. There are only a few decks that can still play without an extra deck. And we saw similarly to how the Amorphage monsters are getting popular. It's basically the same thing. And unfortunately with Sight, if you don't deal with it immediately, then you can't attack over it. The effect is still lingering for the entire turn. So
Yeah. And as we see, Raphael is just going through the motions. He's doing his kind of turn 1 cycle of skills. He's just getting everything lined up, getting that board that he wants to see. And then anything extra he has, the impermanence and the Sanctum, that's fantastic.
yeah,
because he'll get
and
set
luckily
for.
he did not draw the Sight, so
Yes.
the Sanctum is live, and he's gonna be really a good card.
It seems he drew a Flame Buffalo.
Yeah.
Which is a similar color picture, but Yeah.
Fair enough. And the really good thing about Salamangreat is that when you start things off and you have the roar, yeah, you can negate anything that would contest the site. So
Yes,
the Ash Blossom or I don't know, the impermanence if you use it right away. And
Raphael is just saying, we're just going to sight straight away. And that's quite interesting. Blindly, you might not be as inclined to do this, but having spoken to him just before the match, he knew what his opponent was playing. It's most likely that they both know what each other are playing. They've been close to each other for the entire tournament,
Indeed.
most likely. So, yeah, summoning the site here seems completely reasonable. The Thunder Dragon deck does have the advantage that if he can cheat a normal summon, if he can gain some way to get a monster on board, he can at least tribute summon a big creature and start contesting the board a little.
Yeah.
But that will be difficult through the trap cards.
Definitely, and Raphael negates the Sekka slide right away with Roar.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And we can see that this game was definitely decided by the die roll in a way, because they both had really, really good opening ends. The Flame Buffalo, though, gotta say, was the key card, because if that was a Lady Debug, the opening would have been really similar, but the Buffalo drew the Sanctum, and that's the main difference in this game.
And that's something that you see with Salamangreats, and something that you also see with Striker in the format, is that as great as their engine cards are, they really are wanting to see the extra cards that they're playing, because those extra cards are their silver bullets, and their...
In that sense, it's basically similar to how Zodiac was.
Yes.
When you were playing more of a draw engine, because basically you just use your tankies or whatever to get to the engine, and then you were drawing through your decks in hopes of seeing dimensional barriers, traps, solemn strike, whatever, even entrops, and that's the same concept here. You need so little to start things off that then a card like Flame Buffalo, it's really good to draw into the traps. Now it's in the usual danger train.
And again, dangers mean that we're not completely stuck here as the Thunder Dragon player. We can try drawing into cards. If he can end on a Darkus Diablos, Lord of the Lair, that would be a very comfortable spot to be in.
For sure.
We had Neo Space Connector. That seems to be fine. Bigfoot summons. Do you think he would have preferred to have had the Bigfoot discarded so that he can destroy the monster on the field? Although it is the Balinx in grave. So.
Not particularly. But the will of the Salamangreat, it's quite a big deal. And basically Ludvig doesn't see a way to get out of this game. So Raphael quickly takes game one. Mainly due to the Sanctum, it basically prevented Ludvig from extending anymore. And that's just the power of that card. How
much pressure does Raphael's deck have? Like, on that following turn, would he be able to end the game? Or how does the deck climb up into damage?
I mean, it can, because Raphael is playing Update Jammer, which is a link shoe that, when used as link material, allows you to attack twice with the next link monster. So that's like easy pressure you can come up with. Also, something important to notice, we talked in the past about how good Sanctum is, but something that I really love about Raphael deck is that he is maining the trap trick. That was something crucial, because if Sanctum is so good, why not play 6 copies of it? And that's the same he thinks. So
and that's the thing, he has access to Sanctum, he has access to Impermanence, and he has access to Rage, all from the trap trick. Obviously Sanctum is the better card there, but it means that even if for some reason he draws multiple Sanctums, or if he draws the artifact from his deck,
even just getting Rage is a big deal, because then you're free to search Roar and you have both. So I really like the inclusion.
So Thunder Dragons, they're going to go first here, right?
Yes. And we know that Raphael only plays Ash Blossom in the main deck. So now that we take a look at the side decks, he's definitely going to want to side in Drona Lockbird.
For sure, that's really strong against this danger deck.
Yes, while with the Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, he's not playing any target for this matchup, I believe. So yeah, the Super Polymerization instead.
Yeah.
It could come up, but is he actually playing targets for it? I don't think he is. so it's just for the mirror match.
No.
So
Okay.
yeah, he decided he doesn't want to have extra targets, so I think only the Drone and Lock Bears are gonna come in. If he feels like it, the Pancro drops, well, I don't think they're particularly good. While Ludvig doesn't even want to side in much.
No.
I think he's playing the Ra, is it? Looks like it could be.
Is that Cookie Mario Drago? That's Cookie Mario Drago, I think.
Okay, he got me excited for nothing. I thought he was actually playing the real Divine Beast of Ra. I've seen
Oh,
it.
that would be great.
Yeah, I hope it was that. Because I saw some people play that card to counter Sphere mode, and it makes sense.
Yeah, we've not seen Sphere Mode perform terribly well this event.
Indeed.
And I think because the field is so broad, you do have the issue where Sphere Mode is great against the decks it's good against, but you also need to be able to play without your normal summon.
Yeah.
And there's just so many decks that end their combo on 2 cards, or end their combo on 1
So
card.
Ludvig opens the best end of this deck, which is Batteryman Solar and Wyver Buster. And Raphael right now only has the Fantastical Dragon, which wouldn't really interact, so he needs to see an Entrap with it. Because this combo alone, with 2-card combo, ends on 2 negates, Colossus, Saruya, and 2 cards from away from your opponent's hand, which is quite impressive.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
The great thing with Phantasme in this deck as well is it means you are less likely to be punished for only playing 1 copy of your Artifact Scythe, because if you have it in your hand when you resolve Phantasme, you can shuffle it back into your deck. Do you think he Phantasmes here, or as you know your opponent's going to be doing a lot more link plays, do you just hold it until you can draw more cards and see more of your
you
deck?
probably just hold, because you want to be able to get to the draw or to the Ash, so you can wait for the LP, for example. That should be enough. At least you can Ash it then, if you want. And because right now you can't even Ash School Dread by
For sure.
chains. The thing is, though, that Ludvig is also playing the Space Connector engine, so he might even special summon it off Saruya if Fantastical comes down, and I mean the Dolphin if he gets it. And he does get it.
Darkest Diablos. Diablos is such a polarizing card because there are certain decks which just can't deal with it.
Indeed.
And again, it's kind of interesting because we have a bunch of tech cards like this that have been bouncing in and out of decks. So like Diablos first came out back, I believe it was March of last year. And, you know, it got tested in the Layer of Darkness deck and in the Layer Infernoid deck. But then it kind of disappeared a little while. And then Strikers came out and it played in Strikers. And then Strikers started to fade. And it's just changed a lot.
And now Raphael gets punished for not using Phantasmi, because he did draw into the Dolphin and he can discard it away, and that's a huge deal, because now it's 1 more card discarded, you have no way to prevent your opponent combo, and he will be able to go for the full deal. So
yeah, exactly.
Huge change. So
that hurts a lot. So was it perhaps correct to just resolve the Phantasme on the first
I
Link
mean,
summon?
I don't think so, because to be fair, even if he's playing the Neospace Connector engine, he only plays 1 Dolphin, so he needs to draw into it and special summon it off Saruya, and it doesn't seem like it's quite likely. So now, though, the situation looks very grim for Raphael. He is not siding Sphere mode or anything like that, as we know. So there is no way to interact with this board outside of Entraps.
He doesn't have any other artifacts for his Sanctum. So the Sanctum can only summon Sight. And this is the issue that the control decks face in this format. And it's something where a deck like Zodiac had extra game, because with Zodiac, if you were going first, you'd end on a Trident. But even if you were going second, you could get Trident set up and interact straight away. Whereas, you know, your trap cards don't do much here. If you can wrestle back control of the board, you're good. But you don't have access to the Dark Holes and Raigekis or Kaiju Slumbers. So it's interesting. if we see the format kind of shaped this way, is it a possibility that we might see people turning back to finding board removal, or is evenly matched just going to be our de facto?
Yeah, I
removal?
mean, we're gonna have to see how it will develop. It's definitely not easy. And something we've seen here, for example, is a change in the trend. Everyone was playing Archive in Abyss. Well, now they're switching to Crystal Wing because it's easier to deal with cards like Bottle Load, and it makes sense.
Yeah, Crystal Wing is such a powerful card because we're going to bring it up on screen for you guys here. For people who aren't familiar, not only does it let you negate a monster effect on field, but also when it battles monsters, it's able to increase its own attack points.
It's really hard to deal with by battle.
And high attack points are very relevant in this format, particularly when Boral Sword and Boral Load are such prominent cards. So I think Crystal Wing, if you can easily make Crystal Wing, I'd take that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it doesn't prevent cards like Evenly Matched, for example, but since you usually end on Zombie Stein, you should be fine with that.
Yeah. And even if your opponent evenly matches you and you have a kind of clunkier hand or they find some sort of interaction, sitting on a Crystal Wing by itself can often still cause a lot of trouble for decks.
For sure. So now...
Raph gives a little shrug to the crowd and is like,
okay,
you know, sometimes
I have seen enough. I mean, there is plenty of time in the round, but Raphael knows where this is going. As we said, he does not play Sphere mode, and he can never out this board. So we go to game 3, a quick match for now. And now Ludvig can bring in the bombs, let's say, because he has the Dankos, and those we've seen are terrifying against Salamangreat, even though we have not seen on stream a Danko yet.
For sure.
So
we've not seen a Danko today.
Yeah,
we saw a good
against Salamangreat at least. Yeah, that's what I meant. And yeah, the Phantasmaya also help in that sense because you can get to the Danko.
This is a case where the argument for Sanctum becomes really strong, because the problem with the Salamangreat cards and with the Striker cards as well is they're very interactive. And they require the opponent to be doing stuff before you can use them. Whereas Sanctum is a card that is giving you a control aspect, or more stun-like, as people would say. And yet, you know, standby phase, if Raph has it, he's just going to activate it.
Of course. And that's one of the main reasons why he's playing it. Because one of the few weaknesses of Salamangreat is Danko. Yeah. And with Sanctum, you don't care what they do afterwards. It's quite unlikely that they can do much without the extra deck, and it also summons monster that contests the Danko, so it's quite a perfect counter.
Another thing to note with Sanctum is it's a very strong argument. If you believe Sanctum is a good card in this format, then if you believe it's a good card and you want to play a control deck, you're not playing Sky Striker.
Yeah. Because
it has such bad synergy with your deck. Exactly. Whereas with Salamangreat, you know, you're getting something, so you can start link summoning during your turn, or else it's just a 2200 beater. Like, it gives you more damage on board.
Exactly.
And it doesn't prevent you from using your trap cards, unless your opponent has Torrential Tribute.
You never know.
You never know.
You can always, it's a 3. We tend to forget, but it is there.
I think, realistically, we could see Torrential
one day
reappearing sometime in the near future.
At some point, it was one of the best cards, like in Zodiac format, for example.
But like in a slow format like this, if there is a control deck that doesn't need to have a monster on board, then...
Oh, to be fair, even Salaman could play it. Yeah. So
another really interesting card that can be considered in a lot of decks like Salaman is Sky Striker Eagle Boosters. Is a really just generically interesting card. Like, I think in a lot of deck building, you know, there's things like Masked Hero Darklaw, which is quite interesting in deck building. And that becomes a lot better if you have something like Eagle Boosters that you can protect it with. Darklaw is a lot less relevant this format. But in the format we just left, Darklaw would have actually been a very strong card if a deck could find a way to properly get him set up. So, we're expecting Raph to go first here, I assume.
Of course. So let's see The Danko are the main concern. He draws into, seems like a combo end.
Monster Reborn, the Search Spell.
Maybe the Buffalo?
Looks like a Buffalo, yeah.
That would be a huge deal, because right now this hand is basically just Salamangreat cards.
And a Spinny. Spinny and Buffalo seems quite nice.
It is the Buffalo. And that's a huge deal now for Raphael, because you can see here the difference between Lady Debug. If that was a Debug, sure, this end was good, but it's not like if you have a lot of extenders in this deck, you can do a full combo or any type. You just don't need that many cards. And when you have the Buffalo instead, you can actually look for different cards, and it's a huge deal.
I mean, the great thing about Buffalo, right, is that it sees more cards.
Yeah. And it's quite possible that those are not going to be Salamangreat cards. So that's the best part about it.
The best part about my Salamangreat deck
is not
the Salamangreat cards.
I mean, it is true.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. We are seeing a format where there's a lot of kind of powerful staple cards, and it's just which engine helps me get to these most kind of consistently.
So the Spinny gets discarded and he draws. I saw a trap card, so that's already really good.
And that's kind of funny because you have enough trap cards in the deck that you don't mind if you draw one or two of them.
Yeah.
In fact, it's better for you because it means that you can end on a much more impactful board. And he drew Sanctum, which is really nice pickup
and
here.
That's the power of Buffalo,
because it means even if Ludvig draws Denkoseka,
it's still going to be in the same scenario. Now we see that he is waiting on the Phantasmai. Do you think he's expecting him to go into a second buildings to play around Kaijus, or why is that?
I'm not sure.
Because he's actually risking it, because if Raphael thinks he's fine, he's not gonna... That's why I think now Ludvig is thinking.
Yeah, that would be reasonable. Yeah, realistically, I don't think seeing 3 cards rather than 2 cards is big enough of an advantage. Yeah, and he's going to come to that conclusion.
And that's why he goes for Phantasmai. You obviously want to look for Danko.
Yeah.
Let's see if he gets it. But
he has a lot of draw power to try and find Danko.
He does. He does, but we know that Sanctum is there, so...
Yes, exactly.
It's not going to matter too much.
But Danko and a few dangers can just pop on down and start breaking the board apart.
Indeed.
And you have
seem like he gets it
as well.
So. He does not get it,
but I mean, even he potentially could draw it for turn. If either of Seka's Light's effects resolve, he could gain it then. And also, you're putting more pressure on your opponent because your opponent does know that you're statistically more likely to have seen side deck cards here. So,
indeed,
this is the sort of scenario where your opponent has to be thinking like, instead of there being, say, like a 30% chance of seeing a Kaiju, he's now got 33% chance. So.
And now he does go for the bailing, so Ludvig could have rolled into it, but it's also a reason why he did see the Phantasmite. So let's see what he picks up. Raphael should be flipping Sanctum. He does. You can see Ludvig smiling a little bit.
Yeah, Ludvig does not play Ash Blossom at all.
Yeah, he does not.
And yeah, so he just has
to... this is basically the same as game 1. He needs to find a way. Seka's Light might be negated from Roar, just like in game 1. So we're going to have to see if he finds a way to deal with this board.
Yeah. I think realistically, if he can find some way to get into Denkoseka, he's quite favored on this board here, to be honest.
The thing is, you want to use the Seka's Light as well. So unless, I mean, you can set it and go for the dangers, but...
I think we Seka's Light first. Because if we draw Denkoseka, we're just
then are you okay with it being negated? That's the thing.
I mean, something's going to get negated.
Yeah, that's like 2 cards.
You just accept it's going to be negated, and then you can use it later on in the turn to do a shuffle and try to draw into something you need.
Bigfoot needs to be summoned. Let's see.
There could have been an argument for going for Bigfoot first.
Yeah, by setting the Sekka, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So he gets the Tsuchinoko out of the end. I mean, even though he can't access the extra deck, he's still making a pretty good board, honestly.
Yep. And that's the thing. Like, Raphael has stopped him accessing the extra deck, but the Thunder Dragon Danger deck is able to just throw a bunch of guys on board and start going on the beatdown plan. We're activating Sekka's Light's banish effect.
Especially if they get to Levianeer somehow, and he's playing 3 copies of Levianeer. So
it's putting back Chupacabra, which is kind of understandable. He has no dangers in graveyard, so you don't really want to be discarding Chupacabra, and it's also not a terribly high value monster in this board state. Like, it doesn't contest things well.
Gets the Denko, but it's quite late, so
yes, there is no set card to want to Denko here. I think Denko is still high enough attack that it might be worth considering playing, but it's probably worthwhile just holding it until the next turn. We've survived the turn of sight, and we're able to contest the board a bit.
Yeah, and that's what Ludvig is doing. He thinks that he's fine, so that this board can get him to next turn, and then if that's what he's thinking, why not just keep the Denko for next turn, so he can try and push again. Baelynx protects, and
Baelynx is a hard once per turn. It's a named once per turn, so it means that even though he has 2 in graveyard, he will not be able to activate the second effect, which is unfortunate.
Sure. But I mean, you still get to keep the Stalio, which is quite a big deal, and he picks up even more. So now he has the Circle, and he can go on and try to combo off.
Yeah.
He also has the Monster Reborn, which is not a joke at this moment, because he can even just get something out of Ludvig Grave when he gets there. So
yeah, exactly. He could grab something like a Phantasmi or the Bigfoot after they're sent to graveyard.
To push a lot of damage. And Raphael is playing the Bottle Load, which we have seen is able to go into a crazy combo with the Update Jammer, where you attack twice and you can steal 2 monsters from your opponent, which is quite ridiculous.
We've not actually seen this combo yet, and it is quite an exciting combo.
Definitely.
If we are going to see it.
It would be really nice to see it in action here. Let's see if Raphael's does.
Monster Reborn gives us access to Sunlight Wolf, right? So then the board as it currently stands plus Monster Reborn is a board load if he wants to use it.
That's why he's debating on the Stalio, because he doesn't want to lock himself under only using fire for this turn.
Yeah, yeah. Because board load is, of course, dark.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing, because again, it's one of those Dark Link monsters that makes the Orchist deck quite playable.
He goes for another Buffalo, discarding Falco, and this is just not ending anytime soon.
No.
He picks up even more. He picks up the Fusion of Fire, which is not particularly good because of no links on Ludvig Field, but you can still have even one more big threat. So
yes, yeah. I mean, it means it's all about having contingency plans, right? Ludvig has a lot of cards in his hand, and while we know with our perfect information that they aren't presenting much of a threat here, it is a case that you want to play to your outs.
Sure.
And, you know, you don't want to lose to a random Battle Fader in top 64 of a YCS.
It did happen. So
so I've heard.
But yeah, right now it seems like he's doing fine. He can definitely go into the Violet Chimera OTK. So it just depends how Raphael wants to do this. But he has all the tools he needs to end this duel even now. It's gonna have to come up to also the Phantasmite being relevant, because you need to target your opponent monsters to go for the Violet Chimera OTK. So if they have a Phantasmite, then it gets problematic. So.
And this is where the point in the day that we're at really starts to become apparent. You know, these guys have been playing, this is their 13th round of Yu-Gi-Oh! Across 2 days, and they've probably been doing a bunch of testing prior to that. So it's really important that they're able to stay focused, stay in a good headspace, and make sure that they're not kind of tricking themselves into the wrong play.
Sure.
And so we see that Raphael is being very diligent, and he's counting numbers, he's checking, is this enough damage? Will this line get me to where I want to go? Which, of course, is his attempt to progress to top 32.
It should be pretty doable. Even if he goes for the bottle load, if he doesn't want to go for Fusion of Fire, it's quite easy.
I think so. If he cannot find game here, though, or if he messes up, then I think the Thunder Dragon deck is in a really strong position to take the game on the following turn. So there's pressure there. He's somebody that's used to the heat of the lights, but for anybody that's not been on feature match before, you know, it's a very different experience to a normal tournament, and it can be a lot of pressure on people.
Definitely. So the Spinny is activated, and they are debating whether he wants to negate with Phantasmai, because apparently he was saying it was fine, so now they're just debating whether he wants to negate or not. So, because let's remember, yeah, he does negate, and that's a big deal for the OTK, because now he gets to discard the Jackalope, and it's gonna be one more threat on board. So
here's Nessie. Yes, and the interaction with Dangers and Phantasma is a really interesting one. It makes it a much more valuable card for the Thunder Dragon deck than a lot of decks in the format. It is already a very good card, but, you know, it's possible that he's able to just hold strong this turn and then can put enough pressure out next turn.
So now
I assume he's checking there to see is Phantasma a once per turn effect, or else checking if it only works for targeting monster cards.
yeah, now we get to see the Jaguar. It's just gonna come down to whether he wants to go for the bottle load, double attack play. It doesn't seem bad, to be honest. But the Fusion of Fire is also an option. He literally just can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Usually when you go for the Violet Chimera OTK, you go for It Leo, and then you use the field spell on that to summon just another It Leo. So that you can use the effect to change its attack to 0 most likely, if you have an Entrap, or like to 500 with the Spinny. And that's usually enough to have a Chimera that's like 9,000 attacking into a very small monster. So
I do like high attack point monsters.
yeah,
That is a good way to live your life.
it seems like that's like something you can go for here.
Yeah.
Because like Phantasma is once per turn, right?
I don't believe so.
No? Okay, then that's the issue. That's what they were reading. It could not, might not be.
You can only use each effect once per turn.
Yeah, so it is once per turn. So now that that's gone, I am wondering if you could just go for that. He of course needs to find a way to have an Link monster he uses for the Chimera. But
Yes.
once he's free to do that, it should be pretty easy to OTK.
What's your thoughts on these mixed extra deck type decks? So like Salamangreat, we're seeing they have fusions,
Yeah,
they have
I like
Xyz, links.
I like it a lot. I think that was one of the reasons why I was playing Pendulum, which it's a deck where you play even more. You play all of them. You play Pendulum, Synchros, Fusions, XYZ, and Links. And I think it's one of those decks where you have a lot of fun while playing. And yeah, it seems like he's going for the OTK. He shows the Fusion of Fire, and Shake, and Raphael takes the match. So congratulations to him. It seems like he's unstoppable lately. So let's go to the post-match discussion. Wow.
What a great game.
Yeah.
Like, really interesting matchup to watch. And it really is a testament to what we were discussing earlier about the impact and the power of Artifact Sanctum in this event. Because each of the games we saw Sanctum resolved. And the Thunder Dragon deck has so many cards, but it couldn't do anything with them because of Sight being a proactive response.
And I can't stress how much I like the fact that he's actually playing even the Trap Trick. So he
Yes,
has 6 copies of Sanctum, which he can dig with Buffalo, which we've seen both in Game 1 and Game 3 provide him the Sanctum.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that he's doing that. And we even got to see for the first time, even though he didn't summon the Chimera, he was about to, the OTK, which is also a part of the deck. So Salamangreat, we saw. When going first, he has like 1 or 2 interruptions. I feel that's not so easy to deal with. But then when he goes second, if he plays Fusion of Fire, it's easy OTK. Like, as long as they have a monster on board, it's OTK already.
Exactly,
So that's
exactly.
incredible. But I want to say again, congratulations to Raphael. But before moving on to the interview, let's just go through some datas and let's go to the round 1. So we have seen this before. We know that Salamangreat was the most played deck. Raphael just proved to us how good the deck is. But let's just move to the top 64 because that's what we care about. So
we checked again at round 10, I believe,
yes,
and we saw that Salamangreat was still most represented. And again here, top 64, we see Salamangreat by far, almost half of the top cut is Salamangreat.
It's definitely impressive. So there are a lot of Salamangreat, but still we have the confirmation that this event is about as wide as other YCS we've seen.
Yeah.
You can see we have Lunalight with only 1. That means that the other are 8 different decks. So we have so many. We have like 16 or more like different decks. It's incredible. So we have 16 different decks in the top 64, and we expect a lot of different matchups as we have seen already. Different matchups all day. My pick is still the Danger Orchest. I'm in love with the deck, so I hope it will do fine.
From what I understand, the 2 Danger Orchests played each other this round.
No way.
So we still have one
wow.
of them in the event.
Sure.
It was Ping versus Tom, and so I'm pretty sure one of them has been knocked out now.
Okay.
But I want to see Danger Orchest. The
For
deck
sure.
does a lot. There's also some other exciting things. We have Subterror, we have True Draco.
Yeah, there are, and we have 8 other decks. But let's also take a quick look at the country breakdown for the event. If we, so in top 64, we have, as we can gonna show you, that's the situation. So Germany still standing at the top, not a surprise. We had over 1,400 players. So, I mean, half of the top card and even more is Germany.
Exactly.
But then, honestly, the conversion rate is not as bad for the other countries, because we saw, for example, Italians and were only 79 at the beginning, and now they're the same as UK, which is also showing up quite nicely. And nice to see that the Vietnam is still there.
Yeah,
it's probably the guy we featured earlier. United States also showing strong. So we've seen that this tournament is definitely a peculiar one. We have not seen a YCS like this before. I am getting more and more excited about this event. There is still so much to see. So thank you for watching, and let's go to Oliver that is going to be with Raphael.
Thank you very much, Marcello. Here we are again on the main event stage with the champion, Raphael Neven. Quite the hard match. It seemed at first like it would be smooth sailing for you after that first duel. Maybe run us through it again.
Like, I knew Thunder Dragon was like the matchup game 1. I need to win the role. My deck is extremely consistent in drawing Sanctum. That's like that's why I play 3 Buffalo to draw into it. I play 3 Trap Trick, etc., etc. So when I won the role, I was like, all right, game 1 should be fine, except if I break or something. Game 2, I know I'm like dependent on my hand traps.
Wait. So game 1 goes well. You win. You know what you're playing against. What are you siding then?
Oh yeah, well, we knew each other because we played already in Swiss. And like I sided out the trap trick because the Sanctum is still fine if I draw like 1 hand trap and he can't make it a full board. I can like Sanctum next turn, but like keeping all the traps in is a bit too much. And I need to make space for the draw and lock boards. I sided and like Super Poly sometimes can like steal a game if I can get some kind of Salamangreat setup. But going second is very hard against Thunder Dragon if they draw well. And he drew like yeah, he had the full combo. So I knew like after some minutes it could just better like scoop. I just wanted to see what this deck was all about. So when I saw the new Spacians and I saw it in game 1, but I still wanted to like keep the Phantasme in game 2 because when they go for the Guard Dragons, they have 2 Link monsters, so I could got more cards and hopefully draw more outs. But yeah, the Dolphin was very good, I guess.
So you didn't see his entire deck in the Swiss match that you guys were playing?
In the Swiss match, I haven't seen any new Spacians, so I thought it was just standard Thunder Dragon, so I was really surprised. about that. In the end, game 3, I opened Buffalo, drawn to Sanctum again. Like,
so sometimes that's very easy, yeah. So you focused on that one key play. You said going into the match that you're not like 100% happy with your deck. You've played a lot of rounds with it, obviously. What would you change about your deck and why?
My side deck, because there are 14 cards in it.
What's with the 15th card?
I was in the line and I needed to make a 2 into a 3, and it was either going to be caught by the grave or have a Storm Duster. But then they announced like, we're going to cap the event, hurry up.
Under time pressure, you didn't...
And then we like, the judge, the total count of the deck list was 15 for the side deck, but when you add up the numbers, it's 14. Oh. And the judge was like, all right, it's fine.
Well, the judges also had to work very quickly, obviously.
No, it's all my fault, obviously. Like, I shouldn't be stupid. And like,
what would have been the 15th card?
In hindsight, it might have been me Sayuja, so I can side it in with the cherries against the Thunder Dragon matchup. Or for Storm Duster, because that's good with Trap Chick against slow decks.
All right. So some interesting options basically for future tournaments.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's lots to improve on it.
All right. So now you're in the top 32. Does anything change for you at this point? I think you were grinding for Worlds points, so you kind of won already in that sense. Do you now like reset your goal for this weekend and you want to win it again?
Like back-to-back win is the dream, right? But like, like I said, I'm super relieved that I already got so many points for the Worlds race, and I have the same mentality right now that I had yesterday. Like, we'll see how far it goes. Like that.
Everything here is like icing on the cake for you. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Best of luck. Guys, we need to check the time. I'm not 100% sure if we can run some games in between rounds. We're going to check with our main event registration. There is a chance that we're going to be playing some more games for some cool prizes. So in any case, it's going to be working out for you guys to just sit here in the area, because we're either having a feature match or we're going to have some cool games. So see you guys very soon.